Hello, everyone. It's me again, Agent of Doubt, world's worst SJW, drinking his emotional support coffee. Anyways, this morning I was inspired by a meme that I've been seeing going around. It's a viral video format where people are responding to a guy who's living in New York who applied for a data analyst position, something in tech, coding and whatnot. He's living in New York, and he got offered 45K, which is not a livable wage in New York. And I've seen a lot of responses to that. And the one that I saw this morning was a social worker. And she had responded to it. And she's basically in the same field as me, behavioral health, and could apply for the same jobs as me in certain markets. So it hit a little bit closer to home. I'll play just a little bit of that video just so you guys know what I'm responding to.
The job I just interviewed for at the end told me they pay $45K. The way I was holding my...
Ooh, I have been waiting for this one. I'm gonna set...
Okay, so in her video, she got offered $25,000 for a job where she would have had to been on call 24/7 to run a program whereby she has two master's degrees, one in social work, one in public health, and this was in Missouri. So I don't know what the cost of living is there, but I can tell you that no matter where you are in America, $25,000 is not enough to pay for anything where you have a master's degree. And then, after sinking, 4 years into a bachelor's, 3 years into the first master's for her, and then another 2 years into licensure for her, this is a significant portion of someone's life that is dedicated to getting into the field, which is gated by that. You can't just, lay out some crystals and start aligning someone's chakras when you are working in behavioral health. You actually have to go through this education and apprenticeship process, which takes more than a decade of your life, right? And there's continuing education involved with it, even on top of that, legally required and mandated once you get licensed. So to offer someone that low of pay is insulting, right? It's saying, look, I know you went to school for that long and you trained for that long and you've made that much of an investment in doing what you do, but our valuation of that is that you should make about as much as somebody who flips burgers for minimum wage down the street. Or maybe even less that if you take into consideration that we want to make you a salaried employee so we can get 80 hours of work out of you per week rather than, just 40 like that person who is smarter than you by our evaluation because, they know that hourly is the better way to go because you'd at least get overtime pay for all the extra work that we're about to sneak in on you. So, for months now, you guys probably, by this time in the video, you know that I've been a fan of the Joshua Fluke channel, and just people raging against how unfair the working conditions are in America, and especially the pay. But in the past 24 hours, I have gotten an offer for a work that kind of, it pulls it all together for me. This experience that I've had as a therapist here in Colorado, because you can look on Psychology Today, look for a therapist, look at their self-pay rate wherever you are in your neck of the woods. Put in your zip code and see the therapist around you, see what they charge without insurance getting in the way, right? Just out of pocket what you would have to pay to make it worth their while to give you therapy from their educated and apprenticed in stance, their perspective, on mental health. If you want to talk to them for a 1 hour session, you can see what their rate is, right? It's plainly put out there. There's no secrecy to it. There's no contract saying that you can't tell other people what your rate is. It's right out there for everyone to see. And if you're working in another field and you have this feeling like if you talk about your pay, you're going to get fired, even though that's illegal, just know that one part about my field, being upfront about what the pay to the employee is, that's different. It's a breath of fresh air to me. But just go ahead and look at, pause my video, look at what therapists get paid in your area, right? So we all have been experiencing this wage stagnation, right? Wages are flat, prices of everything are moving up, right? Now, you could be comparing your wages to all the other costs involved in your life. Like, you want to send your kids to college costs more. You want to feed your kids, food costs more, right? For me, the cost that I'm comparing my wages to is the cost of housing. I have a particular type of house that I would like to purchase for my life to enrich my life. And it's not a crazy mansion, right? It's on enough land to be able to turn my stereo up and listen to music because I like music. And I don't want to have to hear a complaint from the neighbors, right? I also own some trailers and haul some stuff around for things, and I just want to be able to have ample parking space. So we're talking suburbs or further, right? But even entry-level housing into the housing market that I live in Denver, is out of what most people would consider affordability. And when I say most people, I give counseling to a good cross-section of the city, and basically nobody who is getting therapy from me should be entering in this job market. Now, I will admit that I have some notions about price that are just ingrained in me from being old. Not that old, right? There's still some color in my hair on top. But the amount of gray hairs that I do have, they seem to think that a soda from a vending machine should cost 50 cents if it comes in a can, right? And so when I see that on the regular sodas cost like $2 from a vending machine, it feels like airport prices to me. So I get that. And I get that you kind of get complacent about where you think the prices of things are. But relative to people's income, houses have outpaced the growth in income so much that nobody, in my opinion, can afford housing in my city. This is renting an apartment. This is buying a house. Nobody can really afford to live in my city. Well, just move away from the city, you might say. Well, my job actually needs people, right? And a lot of people prefer, rather than telehealth, which I do, they prefer an in-person experience because it is the experience that they want to pay for if they're going to pay the sum of money that I am requiring to get my services, right? So it's their preference, but it's just a fact of the market that I'm in, the field that I'm in. And I'm not alone in that. There are many jobs that require there being people in the vicinity. So I'm not going to be living in the most remote part of my state in order to be in my field. It's just not going to happen. I would be limiting myself even further in my ability to make money. So, I will say that an entry-level home, which is not a townhome or condo or anything such that I would have neighbors that would have to hear if I turned up my stereo. An entry-level home that with just enough space between the houses that I couldn't like high-five my neighbor if I was brushing my teeth, right? An entry-level home with just enough space away from my neighbors that I can get away with, inviting over people for a barbecue and not having a noise ordinance citation, right? An entry-level home is over $500,000. Over $500,000. And we're talking suburbs, not even in the middle of the city. In the middle of the city, it's closer to $1 million, right? At $500,000, in order to afford the mortgage for that place, with the interest rates where they are right now in America, you have to make in Denver about $150,000 a year, right? And depending on where you are in your life or in the country or around the world, you might think that that's a ridiculous amount of money, right? I do know plenty of people in many different career fields who make that much money. Every one of my friends who is a fellow veteran who decided to go into, say, defense contracting. In my area, that's a very big thing. There's the Air Force Base, NORAD, Buckley Air Force Base, all that stuff. They seem to be doing pretty well, Lockheed Martin is around, like all these different defense contractors in the area. They make pretty good money. I've seen a lot of salaries in the low 200,000s range. So those people can afford to buy the entry-level house in my area. Not a good one, just the entry-level one. The one that has all the copper stripped out of it by meth addicts and is spray painted and it's missing a door and some of the windows are boarded up and it's listed as a fixer-upper. That house, that's the $500,000 house that I'm talking about. So, when I'm basing what I will accept as a price for my services, okay, I'm basing it on, I have a goal within my lifetime to own the house that I want, right? Not any of the steps on the way to it. The house that I want to get into just so that I can retire and turn up the volume on my stereo. Right? That's what I want to do with my life. Eat barbecue, listen to loud music. That's it. In order to do that, let's work the math backwards. So, I believe that, just like I have that 50-cent soda mentality, it's ingrained in me and it's old people think. I think that no more than a quarter of your income should go to your housing, right? But it's become the norm that people have upped that to a third of your income should go to housing. And I've even seen rental applications where you only have to make 2 times what the rent costs. So they're okay with you making just 50%, or you making just double. So like 50% of your pay is going to your housing at that point. Basically, if they're going to raise the rent in line with what buying a house is, so that they can get their piece of the pie, these housing cost increases have basically necessitated apartment managers realizing that people can't afford to be restricted to having to make 3 times what the rent is, because then they're not going to be able to have enough applicants to fill the apartments. So they have had to accept just, you must make double, and that to me is a horrifying landscape for housing in my city. But, not a lot of people are really thinking this through. This wage stagnation and prices getting out of control. I feel like it's becoming more of a coffee table style conversation, but a lot of people still seem to be oblivious to this widespread, horrible inequality of those who own the real estate versus those who have to purchase or rent. This widening gap between the price it costs to live and what you're making. Whew. Anyways, working the math back, if it costs about $150,000 to be able to qualify with a bank, not just like me thinking that you need to have, only a quarter of your pay going to your housing, because that's what I was taught in high school back in the day, before I grew all this gray hair. Not a third of your pay, like just to get the bank to qualify you for a loan for the house that is $500,000 with the interest rates where they are right now, you need to make around $150,000 in a year, right? Work the math back and divide. I'm going to say I take a 4-week vacation. Now, maybe you're of the hustle culture where you say, well, if you don't have the house that you want, you should never take a vacation. You should work all 52 weeks. You know what? My clients don't show up all of those weeks that I take off anyway, like Christmas and Thanksgiving. You write those off anyway, right? Try to get your clients to show up on the 4th of July. They're not going to show up. So, I take my vacations when everybody else is going to show up anyway. So, 48-week year, right? With that 48 weeks, let's just say I'm working 40 hours a week, which that's been ingrained in a lot of us as the normal work week. Some people point to less hours worked in other countries and less hours worked before say, World War II industrialization happened in America and all that. But I'm actually okay with working 40 hours a week. Like, in my life, I like what I do for a job. I'm okay with that much time spent on it. Right? It's by this time I'm decades into this career. I'm just accustomed to working that much anyway. So if I'm going to get paid for working 40 hours a week, and I need $150,000, and I'm working 48 weeks out of the year, and in my field, you work more like a contractor style than a regular employee if you are a private practice clinician like me. Now, if I worked for an agency, different sorts of costs would be involved with that. But try to find any behavioral health agency that's giving anyone but the CEO $150,000 or more, right? It just ain't happening. They're offering right now jobs to people who just got out of their master's program and just got a license, and just spent 10 years getting that. They're offering like $27 an hour, which I could go manage a McDonald's or a Good Times or a Wendy's or a Burger King, and make that much money, and go home and not have to think about all of the customers that came to that burger place. I could just write them off in my head really quick and not have them, not give them even one thought. But that's not the field I'm in. But comparing what agencies are willing to pay versus what the reality of the cost of living is just frightening for a lot of people. And that's why we have staffing shortages in certain parts of my field. It's because nobody can afford to work for that. Nobody can afford to invest in their life that much time and energy and money to come out and work for basically a wage that's going to put them in debt further and further. You figure that taking on student loans puts you in debt. If you're having to borrow money just to live for the rest of your life because you don't make enough money to even afford the cost of living, then you're getting even further impoverished because you chose to accept a job that didn't pay you enough to advance in your life. And part of that is on the employees accepting the position, but also part of it's on the whole field as a whole, allowing companies to come in and offer these jobs at such a low pay, and then make profits that go to upper management, who most times, the people who are making the livable wages and above, the wages that would it would require to buy a house, those people don't have the credentials to actually do the job that they're managing. They're the MBAs. They're not anyone who went to school for behavioral health. They're like, and this is true of a lot of different fields, that the people at the very top are just business management, making all that money, and they're relying on other people having the actual information in their heads to actually run the business. Anyways, working it back with all that math, I have calculated that it would take $78 an hour if I was getting paid for all 48 weeks and 40 hours a week. I would have to make $78 an hour, right? So no agency is going to pay me that much money to work a salary position. Most of the offers that I would get on LinkedIn or Indeed would limit me to half that. We're talking somewhere between the $60,000 to $85,000 range. Every company that exists out there wants to limit the pay of everyone in my field to that point, where it would take 3 clinicians who pooled their money together to live as roommates to be able to live in and work in the same city that they live in, Denver. This is what we're dealing with here. So now take into consideration that for me, 40 hours of work is not 40 FaceTime hours with a client or 40 paid hours. Because I'm a private practice clinician, I get paid per service, right? But just because I talk to someone for an hour does not mean that that encapsulates all the work. Add some time for documentation of the session that happened, some extra clackety-clack on my keyboard, right? I'm going to say 10-15 minutes per 1 hour session is just clackety-clack, clack, clack. If I'm lucky, submission on a web portal on my computer to their insurance company to get paid. When that comes back, all of that time that it took to just deal with the portal that I have to submit the insurance to, it can be another set of minutes, right? Then I'm going to say that every session also includes some part of my professional development that I have to look up something or learn something or at least analyze where the session is going outside of the session that I did, right? It could be that I need to learn a new technique. I need to learn a little bit more about what the client is talking about just to be able to talk with them. Whatever that is, it takes a certain number of minutes. Per every 1 hour that I'm talking to them, outside of that hour, I have to do a little bit of research. And if you don't agree with that, then I don't know what you think the value of therapy is. Are we just like, an earpiece for you to talk to without ever, researching anything independently outside of that hour in order to help you the next session, right? I think part of the value of your therapy hour is that I have given it a little bit more thought outside of the session before the next session, right? Many of the agencies that would hire people right out of school and give them unmanageable caseloads, they dump so many clients on these people that no, there is not enough time for them to research anything or learn anything in between sessions or reflect on where the therapy is going to enhance the treatment plan. And that's why a lot of people get a bad taste in their mouth for therapy, because they have gone to a place that is treating it like a conveyor belt where people are just given standardized therapy with no reflection on what their actual needs are. They're just given a serialized protocol of this is your modality that you're using. This is your client load here. Apply this to these people and don't think about them at all outside of that hour if you can. But we're also going to add extra paperwork for this agency, and you have to do this, and this more than normal because this paperwork proves that you did the work. And people up higher, they have these other missions that they're on, so they want this extra paperwork done for this agency. And it's basically, in private practice world, I do a little bit less paperwork than somebody who's in agency work, because it's more simplified. Sometimes I'm just getting paid out of pocket by the clinician, and other times the only other people that we have to answer to are the insurance company, and the claim that I submit has a billing code and all that, and that's the extent of the paperwork. I have to maintain their chart, in accordance with state law, but it's a lot less paperwork to do just what I've just said than it is to add a whole bunch of other stuff that agency work would add to it, and it does, and it burns people out, and that's why only 43% of behavioral health workers make it to getting their license through that 2-year period of being an indentured servant to state agencies and nonprofits in order to get their licensure hours. Right? It's a grind, and it's soul sucking. And to think that people go through all that only to get a wage that other people have decided, you know what, you're not worth more than somebody who's worked 2 or 3 years doing fast food. You're not worth more than a couple bucks over the city's minimum wage. It's insulting. And it's denigrating to my craft. I'll put it that way. So yeah, I don't just work, for 40 hours in my week and then see 40 clients. Because if I saw 40 clients, I would at least have to add a set number of hours to doing all the paperwork for those sessions, and reflecting on those sessions, and researching accordingly. And so I think it's a fairer representation of what it takes to do my job to say that 20 FaceTime hours with clients plus hour of paperwork and extra work related to that, and answering phone calls from your clients because they will call outside of their sessions about things and scheduling and whatnot, all that time, right? So I'm only getting paid for half of the time that I'm actually working. So to say that I need $78 an hour in order to make that $150,000 is wrong. You actually have to double that, because I don't get paid for that extra hour of work that I do per session. Right? If I'm working the 40-hour work week that most people would think is fair. So you double that 78 and you come up with $156 an hour is what I need to be earning in order to afford the entry-level house in my city. And it's getting to the point where even a trailer, like a double-wide trailer manufactured home, where you would have to pay lot rent of $1,000 a month on top of your mortgage, when you put it all together, even that is something where you would need $150,000 a year to afford in my city of Denver. I'm not shitting you. You can look it up yourself on Zillow. Just know that any of the things that look like a deal or a steal, like there's a town called Firestone that's north of Denver, where all the homes seem to be $100,000 or $200,000 less than anywhere else. That's because they have HOAs that cost $1,000 a month. And for $1,000 a month for an HOA, you're not just taking out my trash. You better be serving me breakfast for that. And it better be a good one, like poached eggs and everything. Because fuck, $1,000 a month for an HOA? Fucking get out of here. So, you guys can tell why I'm not responding to this on TikTok or any of the short form reels or Instagram stuff or any other platform, because like this is a very long form ramble thought, because I have a lot to say on this. If you look at Psychology Today in the area codes or the zip codes of my city, which there's a lot of zip codes. Just look at the average of everybody who's taking money private practice without insurance, and you'll see it's between $150 and $250 per hour, depending on qualifications or just how much someone values their time. Right? And of course, when you accept insurance, there's a middleman that has taken a portion of the money that you're going to be making. And contractually, I'm not allowed to tell you what I get from the insurance companies that I work with when I accept insurance. They say that that could be grounds for you being kicked off the panel. That little portion, like, I want so badly to be able to tell you what the rates are. But, I'm telling you the prices that I can, and I can tell you that accepting insurance means that the insurance company gets to negotiate you down from your self-pay rate a little bit to reimburse you for what they think you are worth. And it varies greatly from one insurance company to the next. Some of them approach what I am asking for as a self-pay private practice arrangement, and some of them not so much. They take a larger chunk. And in a system where having insurance is being mandated, which for a while, there's been healthcare mandates that say everybody has to have insurance or else you'll be penalized when it comes tax time, and then parts of that gets overturned and all that. In that sort of a climate, I have to deal with the insurance companies. And there's other laws that have kind of made me have to deal with insurance companies too, like the No Surprises Act that Trump signed. It basically says that if somebody gets a bill from me, they can then, if I didn't do the paperwork in a certain way, they can then turn it over to their insurance company, and the insurance company can then negotiate with me legally for the client and try to negotiate the reimbursement down. And without me ever having been on that insurance's panel and not wanting to work with insurance companies, a client can still do that to me. If I don't have all my ducks in a row with a whole bunch of paperwork up front, which that paperwork, when you present it to somebody, would say what the actual cost of everything is. And because people have in their minds that they are worth this for this what kind of work they're doing, when they try to compare to the wages that you are asking for, and then they see how much of a chunk of their income would be going to you up front in the way that this paperwork demands, it makes all private practice clinicians who want to take self-pay look very bad up front, and therefore tries to steer people into buying insurance and trying to get the insurance companies to negotiate our pay down. So this extra influence on my field of insurance companies sucking up all the clients and then trying to tell us what we're worth, which is less than it costs to own a home in the city where we work. This is an influence that I am rejecting and pushing back on and saying, like, no, I need to be making this much money in order to achieve my goals, right? And so I don't want to work with you. But that No Surprises Act, I don't think that it was the intent of the president that it works this way, but it ends up working this way. So it's the interaction between a lot of different sessions of Congress and presidents in a row, not just one, that has created this extra pressure on us clinicians that we would accept insurance or have to deal with insurance even when we don't accept it. Just the fact that avenue exists, that people can get care in a way that looks like it costs a little bit less money to them, but then pays the clinician a significant proportion less. And I'm speaking so that I wouldn't get kicked off any panel that I do deal with when I say that. It's a significant portion less. Just the fact that avenue exists for the clients, that they have access to all the rest of their health care plus us, which, the fact that the insurance company has to handle all of their health care with that insurance means that they have to spread the wealth around with the other fields, and every other part of their bureaucracy, and they make rapacious profits on top of that, to the tune of billions, which comes off of the backs of all of the clinicians that are having to deal with that company. Just all of that put together makes them a giant middleman, right? And now, after all of this ramble, I tell you the company that I just declined an offer for $70 per 1 hour session, this company is not an insurance company, all right? A good analogy to this is what happened to the New York cab drivers who had medallions in order to own and operate a taxi cab in New York. And it was a regulated field, and they were abiding by the regulations. And they had this job where they could charge people to taxi them around, and then an upstart company called Uber comes into their market, doesn't follow the rules, and is willing to face the legal consequences, and has giant venture capital backing behind it. They come in and they start charging customers way, way less, right? And they completely decimate the cab drivers' union, the whole medallion system. The medallions then become worthless when people took out mortgages basically to own these medallions, to buy them from the previous person. People considered owning a medallion an investment that would be at the end of their work their work career, they could sell their medallion, the right to own and operate a taxi. And there's many different fields that certain regulations protect how many people can be in that field. Shrimp boat captains in Louisiana face the same thing, where if you don't have a license to own and operate a shrimp boat, you have to buy one from an existing person because they're not given out anymore. Cannabis locations here in Colorado were regulated for a long time as to how many could exist, and in order to get into that industry, you would have to buy somebody's existing license if you didn't get one yourself, and they weren't given out anymore. So there's a lot of fields that have been regulated and protected in this way, right? But when a outside influence with a lot of capital comes in and starts disregarding regulations in order to create a system where it can suck as much of the money that people were making out of it into its coffers rather than the people themselves making money, you get this system where now Uber drivers make, by a New York City study, less than minimum wage. They make like $11 an hour there, when you take into consideration their costs. And when people are working those jobs, they don't immediately see those costs, because some of it is the wear and tear on your vehicle and the maintenance of your vehicle and all that has to be taken into consideration. You're basically, if you're thinking about your vehicle as part of your wealth, you're sucking out your own wealth, and just every time you get paid, some of it does come from Uber and the guy who paid for the Uber ride, but some of it's coming from the equity in your car. And so people who are not really aware of this, when they join that endeavor, they don't see that they're getting paid less than minimum wage for a job that used to be done by people for a livable wage. And they had unionized, and they had regulated that industry with the medallion system in order to make that trade of taxiing people around something that people could, have a place to live in the same city where they work by charging this amount of money, right? So the industry that I'm in, most notably on this platform, is being invaded by such a venture capitalist firm in the form of BetterHelp ads, right? And so BetterHelp, there are so many different videos that have been made on this, by myself included, why I'm not working with BetterHelp and their unethical practices where they just disregard regulations. And over the years, I've talked about how they shouldn't have a dual relationship with their clients being their advertisers. You shouldn't be paying your client to advertise your platform. You shouldn't be involving them in the advertisement of your platform if you are in behavioral health, because it creates a dual relationship and it cheapens what we do as therapists. It's unethical. In my code of ethics, it's unethical. And I talked with the CEO, Alon Matas, about this, had the email exchange, put the email exchange here on YouTube years ago, and now they've gotten so far away from even listening to me on that topic that they have people blatantly saying, in their straight up ads, not just like in their product placement that they had in certain famous YouTubers' videos. Now they just have straight up ads that they're buying with random no-names who are their clients, saying that this is my experience with this, like this hair club for men, I'm a member too, kind of ad. That's not supposed to be part of our field. We are different than other products, but they do not accept our code of ethics that we came to, after, centuries of doing this, where people, passed on this knowledge of, hey, if you have a client, you don't have them, give you referrals and then pay them while you are doing treatment with them. That is not a good relationship with your client. You need to separate business from the therapy that you do, right? So BetterHelp, putting ads on YouTube with their own clients in the ads is wrong. Fucking wrong. Now, just the proliferation of their ads with their system of referrals where people are getting paid per click or paid for use by code, all of those incentives that they have given people, the amount of ads that have been on this YouTube platform itself, just the amount is annoying, right? You all probably agree with me on that. But the content of the ads is so bad ethically that I refuse to work with that company ever. There are so many other things, like just like the way that Starbucks is being boycotted because of their stance on what's happening in Israel / Palestine and all that. BetterHelp came out right away and offered mental health services to people in Israel, not in Palestine, not in Gaza. Like they're offering services to the Israeli people. Like, just Google it. It's they take political stances as a behavioral health company that then the therapists have to maybe answer to in sessions when clients are like, hey, this company that you're working with, they kind of don't stand for what you and I do. Anyways, so many things that this company has done that should not be done by a behavioral health company, right? Stay in your lane, right? On top of that, they come into my field and they make promises to clients like, hey, we'll find you a therapist where you can pay as much as like a cup of coffee for talking to them. This extremely low rate that they're promising with top tier quality therapists and so they negotiate with the clients before they've ever met the therapist or know who they're getting. They create this influence in my field where people start to feel like that's what therapists are worth, right? If another company did that to, say, heart surgeons, hey, pay us like this low cup of coffee rate, and then when it comes time for you to need a heart surgery or any sort of follow-ups, we will contract with the doctor and give them this much money, and oh by the way, you can talk to your doctor 24/7 through texts, and they'll be responsive because that's part of our contract. Never mind how healthy that may or may not be for you. But and never mind what sort of relationships professionally the doctor might want to make with their clients by only handling their issues during normal business hours. So this company, BetterHelp, comes into my field, tries to get as many clinicians as they can into the field, into their panels, starts listing clinicians who aren't even in their panels and have never worked with them. This is documented. Go look it up on YouTube. They break all of these rules that local laws have about them existing as a healthcare provider. They basically market themselves as not being the healthcare provider. It's all on the clinician's license, the individual clinician. But then they start crafting how therapy is supposed to look for people. It's just terrible. And then look at the rate of pay that they're offering. Because it's a telehealth platform, you could have somebody living like in the most remote areas of a state, not in the city. And if they had a good enough internet connection somehow, like there's a gas station there that has a ATM line that it happened to be in a neighborhood where they got good internet even though nobody else in that town has good internet, or they got an office right next to that gas station. So that's why they're next to the good internet access. Those people could possibly be paid enough to live in that remote town. And I'm talking remote, like not even a traffic light remote, right? So maybe those people might think, oh, well, because nobody in my town makes enough money to afford my services and I've had to charge, McDonald's wages from my clients in the city, then I'm willing to accept $2 more than burger flipper wages, in order to get some more clients that are all across the state. So they upend the apple cart that way, and then they have clinicians that have crappy internet connections, giving serialized therapy to the entire state, having never seen their clients in person, and have no ability to ever, if the need warranted, right? And it's just, there's so many things about BetterHelp. The company that I turned down is not BetterHelp, by the way. I don't even talk with BetterHelp. I don't click on anything for BetterHelp. I don't want BetterHelp ads in my life anymore. But they still persist. But there are other companies that also advertise their services on multiple platforms. If you scrolled 100 times on TikTok or Reels, you're going to run into one of these companies. And there's more than one. Well, some of them offer not much in the way of cost to the clinicians as far as the percentage more that they're taking. But keep in mind, we already have the insurance companies as a giant middleman who are affecting what we can charge and then taking a percentage of that. Now you've got this new middleman that's telling clinicians, hey, if you sign with us, we'll get you paneled with all the insurance companies. This insurance company. We offer a place to store your records, and we offer to take the money straight from the clients, like secure billing and all that. And we're just going to be another little middleman in the way, right? But then they start advertising for clients by telling them the same things that BetterHelp says. Like, we're going to be the cheapest way for you to get the best care. Why pay more when you can pay this tiny bit and just come with us, and we will get you with a clinician. And by the way, if you don't like the one clinician you get, you could just swipe right and swipe left as much as you want, and just have one or two sessions with a therapist, and then not even give them a reason, just send them a text and say, I'm going to go with a different clinician. And it's so easy, and there's no repercussions for that for you, and you don't have to have any discussions with anyone. And just the cheapening of what's going on in my field by these companies is so bad. It's so bad. And the removal of certain aspects of human interaction removes accountability from people who, accountability might be the issue that they are working on, right? It's something that they, by enabling them to not have accountability for whenever things get serious in their therapy, that they can just fire their clinician and get a different clinician and just start the process all over again very easily, very quickly, without even addressing with their therapist on the way out that accountability. Oh my goodness. It's so bad. It's so bad. But when this extra company, extra middleman besides the insurance companies, when they come in and they come to an area, they don't have to beat the kind of wages that I'm asking for with self-pay from clients, like paying out of pocket. They can't. If they are going to survive as a company, they have to get in between that rate and the money that actually makes it to me, right? They have to, as a middleman, they have to take a percentage. But they're looking at the rates that are posted on Indeed and LinkedIn for the agency work for people just getting out of college and working on their licenses, or just got their license, and they're seeing this like $27 an hour, and they're like, oh, if we double that or triple that, then that should be the rate that people would love to get paid if they were in that agency position. But nobody's actually taking those agency jobs. All of those jobs have staffing issues, right? If you're in any place that's a clinic that is run by a nonprofit and you're wondering why the care sucks and why they don't have any clinicians there, it's because they pay shit, okay? And so if they're seeing an ad for, we'll pay $27 an hour for you to do this work, then they think that doubling that is enough. It's, going to get all of the clinicians that work for that nonprofit agency or that government entity to jump ship and come to their platform, right? And they're not wrong. There are a lot of people in my field that don't understand money. They're not MBAs. They're in behavioral health because maybe some of them didn't want to look at numbers. They're not good with that. They're good with people. That's fine. But they also might not have been as keenly aware of the stagnancy of pay and the rising costs of everything, to the point where they realize what I do, that nobody's job is tenable at this rate, right? Like, everybody's hurting across the board, and wages need to increase. Simply put, the only way that the price of everything going up makes sense is if people get paid more, right? And they don't. And if you accept the same low pay, you're part of the problem. The only way that these low-paying jobs go away is if nobody takes the job ever. They can't just have like a staffing issue where, they spend 6 months out of the year with the position vacant because people take it only to jump to another job. No. They have to go years of not being able to find anyone who will take the job before they will realize, oh, it's because we're not paying enough. These government agencies and nonprofits, they think that having a pizza party is enough to reward your clinicians for sticking around at that low of a wage. Like, they're incompetent in that respect. Beyond what I care to get into. But these companies that are coming in backed by venture capital, they think that setting their wages that they're willing to pay clinicians at double what the minimum wage style work that agency work is offering is enough to give clinicians what they deserve, right? On a more human level, I'm going to say that self-care starts at home for clinicians, right? If I don't get enough sleep, I cannot be there for somebody else. If my coffee cup is empty, I cannot pour out from my coffee cup into somebody else's coffee cup, if I don't have energy, I can't give anyone else energy. If I don't have happiness myself, it's going to be seen by my clients, and they're not going to leave my sessions happy. If I'm drained, I can't do anything about them being drained, right? So, I need to get enough pay to not have a lot of the issues that poverty brings with it. Because if I'm not happy at home, if I am feeling like my life is not going anywhere, that my goals are unattainable, and that I'm never going to reach even the sort of economic status that the worst of any of the generation before me was able to attain. If the generation before me had milkmen that were able to put their kids through college, but I'm a person who went to college and I couldn't afford to put my kids through college. If that's the sort of existential crisis that I'm always going through as a therapist, then I can't give good therapy to other people. I gotta handle my shit first before I can handle other people's shit. You put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put the oxygen mask on somebody else. That's what all of the flight attendants tell you. It's because if you don't save yourself first, you cannot save other people, right? If I'm dying, I can't help anybody else from, suffering the same fate. So, I need to think about my own needs more. And unfortunately, in my field, a lot of people are more selfless than in other fields, right? There's a lot of people who feel like we are supposed to be more accessible to the most amount of people, and to a fault, right? I agree with them, to an extent, but when it starts hurting the quality of therapy because it's hurting clinicians, then no, we cannot be the mothers of the entire community if, you can only take on 10 kids on your teats and your teats have run dry. You cannot be sucked more than dry, You can't squeeze blood out of a rock. So, if clinicians in mental health fields have to supplement their income by driving for Uber at night and on the weekends, which I know is true in agency work, if clinicians have to be waitresses on like Saturday and Sunday mornings because they don't make enough at their jobs, which I know is true. Like I have colleagues that are in those agencies that do this. Then something is wrong. If your job that you're working, that 40-hour work week, is not paying you enough to live, we have a problem, right? And for me, living means by the time I retire, I'm in that house where I can crank the volume and listen to my music and have a barbecue with friends over, right? That's living to me. And if I'm not on the path to that, then I'm just going to flip over this game of checkers and say, fuck it, I'm not working with you. Right? I just can't. I have a goal, and if your business model is telling me that I will never reach that goal working with you, I'm not working with you. I'm going to go my own way, and I'm going to find how to make it to my goals. Because if I'm not on the path to my goals and I'm feeling like life is hopeless, that's going to come out in my work. So, one of these companies that goes and advertises to everyone on the internet recently contacted me because they are moving into Colorado. Many of these companies only, they start expanding into places state by state by state. They're moving into Colorado. Because we need another one of these companies, right? I had a meeting, and it was a 30-minute meeting with somebody from that company, and that person was not from this state. They were in New York, just doing their job, and they offered me $70 an hour for a 1-hour session of therapy, which is not enough. And there are already companies in this state that offer more than that. How much more, I can't say because of, contracts with insurances and whatnot. But significantly more, right? And that $70 is less than half of what my self-pay rate would be. And I'm just charging a self-pay rate that is in line with everybody else in my field. Check Psychology Today, right? And so to be offered that when it's like the lowest of the pay that I could possibly get in private practice, it was insulting, right? And I know that because they have this venture capitalist backing, they're going to be advertising their services to a swath of people in the coming weeks that are all going to see their services and click and then follow, and then they will insert themselves as a middleman before the clients ever get to the therapist, right? And then they will negotiate the therapist's pay down. Can't do it. It's not going to get me to my goals. And I know that the numbers seem outrageous to a lot of people. But a lot of people have not woken up to the fact that whatever that job is that they're working, that their numbers seem worse than what I'm working with here. And they're thinking, hey, well, if you're worth that, then I should be worth this. Yeah, they are. Right? Everybody across the board deserves to make more money in this climate where the prices of everything keep going up and wages have been stagnant for so long, right? And a lot of people look at this as, well, count your blessings for what you are getting because you are doing better than a lot of people. Nobody's making enough. Nobody. And we need to reset what people think is enough, because a lot of people just don't understand that all of their goals are escaping their reach. All of their life goals. Now, maybe if your life goal was living like a monk with a bowl and a mat, or you wanted to be homeless and enjoy the freedom of a shopping cart, yeah, you do you. But I want to live in a world where home ownership is attainable, where saving some money for a rainy day is attainable, where going out to eat is not considered the new vacation, you know, where people actually can afford to take a week off. Yeah. So that's why I just turned down an offer to work for $70 an hour. Because it's not enough. I'm worth more than that. And I make more than that. And I'll be fine without them. But every person on LinkedIn or Indeed that messages me with a job paying half of what it takes to afford even the entry-level house in my city, I respond to those inquiries with, I have a dream. A dream that clinicians will one day be able to afford a house in the city where they work. And I make twice as much as what you are offering already, and I still need a little bit more to attain that. And so, no, I will not be working for you. And you pay your clinicians shit, and you need to pay more. I have a template that I just cut and pasted. I send it to all of them to let them know it's not enough. Right? We need to reset everything about pay and what our expected wages are if we're going to live in this world where everything else has gone up except for pay. And we can't have people begrudging people raises or thinking that they're not worth what they're asking. I'm telling you my rationale, right? And it's not that crazy. I should know. I'm kind of the subject matter expert on what is or is not crazy. Till I talk to you guys next time.